日は小説よりきなりタイム始まりだぜ。
始まりだわ。
今回はいい映像を入手したぜ。太平洋戦争末期、アメリカが作成した日本解説映像だぜ。
アメリカによる日本解説、一体どんな解説をされてるんだろう。ものすごく気になるんだわ。
この映像のすごいところは、アメリカがいかに日本について徹底的に研究し、日本人の習慣や宗教、思想から長所と短所を洗い出し、それを米兵に教育させているところなんだぜ。何の説明もせずひたすら玉砕や特攻を強いた日本に比べ、合理的に兵士を導く姿勢はさすがと言えるぜ。
さすが世界最強の国。そういう合理的な部分は見習うところだね。そして昔の日本と今の日本を比べることもできそうね。ぜひとも解説お願いするんだわ。
よっしゃ任せろ。ほんじゃしきみ、いつもの頼む。
この動画はゆっくりプーチャンネルの提供でお送りします。
さて、アメリカ軍が作成した日本解説映像。Know your enemy, Japan。敵を知り己を知れば百戦危うからずを目的としたもので、当時の日本のことを詳しく解説されてるぜ。それじゃ早速見ていこう。まずは日本兵の実態解説だぜ。
First, let's examine a typical Japanese soldier. His average height is 5 feet 3 inches. His average weight 117 pounds. He and his brother soldiers are as much alike as photographic prints off the same negative. His pay is 10 yen, or about $2.36 a month. His personal equipment is simple but practical. Fully supplied with ammunition, the load he carries weighs about 60 pounds, more than half his weight. His uniform is ill-fitting, his appearance unsoldierly, even comic according to Western standards. At drill, he may lack precision. But he is hard. He is able. He knows his job. His endurance is phenomenal. He'd just as soon go over a mountain as around it. He lives on rice and fish, or occasionally rice and meat, but often on rice alone. And he's proud of it. He is prouder still of the fact that to be a soldier is the highest human achievement in Japan. He has been trained to be a soldier almost from birth, and into his tough little mind has been drilled and hammered the fanatical belief that Japanese are descendants of gods and destined to rule the earth and all who live on it. To this end, treachery, brutality, rape, and torture are all justified if used against non-Japanese. In combat, his single aim is to close with the enemy in hand-to-hand fighting. He believes that in the attack itself there is some mystic virtue by which greater numbers bearing superior weapons can be vanquished. In his mind, there is usually no question of choice between death and surrender. To him, death in battle is the attainment of an ideal. Where his flag leads, he follows, in a blind emotional rush. For his flag not only represents his country, it is also the image of his God of gods.
アメリカから見た日本兵って小さくて貧しい、やたらと頑丈で変な教育に染まって散るを恐れないって感じなのね。戦場で果てることが名誉で幸せというのはアメリカ人にとっては理解しがたい考えだったんだろうね。
アメリカ人にとっては狂気そのものだったぜ。自分たちが最も恐れることを喜んでるわけだからな。
そりゃ日本人の解説映画なんて作るわけだわ。それにしても多勢で攻めればどんな最新兵器にも負けないと信じる。この表現が今の日本の社会にも通じるところがあるね。外国の企業が IT 化でガンガン効率化して利益を出してるのに、未だに無茶な残業で乗り切ろうとするブラック企業そのものね。あと戦士を名誉と捉えるのも今でいう残業マウントとかの不幸自慢と似てる気がする。将来を見据えて次につなげるのが最適解なのに、なぜかその逆を美徳とする風潮、なんかあまり成長してない気がするわ。
お次は日本兵や日本人が崇拝していた天皇についてだぜ。
His flag is the rising sun. And the rising sun is the symbol of the emperor. To the Japanese, their emperor is the most holy of holies, their visible God. He is also their political ruler, the natural and supernatural. Religion and politics all done up in a one-man package. Entrust to one man the powers of the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, the Premier of Soviet Russia. Add to them the powers of the Pope, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the Russian Orthodox Church. Then top it all with the divine authority of our own Son of God, and you will begin to understand what Hirohito means to the Japanese, why they call him the God Emperor. For to the Japanese, Hirohito is a direct descendant of the sun, and what is so high, so brilliant, and so mighty as the sun? Accordingly, no one can stand above or look down upon the emperor. When he passes through the streets, all windows above the first floor must be tightly shuttered. The train to Tokyo from anywhere in Japan is the up train to Tokyo because the emperor lives there. Nor can the emperor be imitated in any way. Only his automobile may be maroon-colored. Not even his tailor may touch the person of the emperor, for who would lay hands upon the sun? If you are Japanese, it actually hurts your eyes to look at Hirohito, just as it hurts your eyes to look at the blazing sun. Nor would anyone dream of handling his uncovered picture. When Hirohito's face appeared on the front cover of an American magazine, the Japanese government filed an official protest with the American State Department. Whatever takes place in Japan, it is he, the God Emperor, that causes it. From him all things emanate, and in him all things subsist. He makes the Japanese rice grow. He makes Japanese soldiers conquer the world. In his name, they bring to other people justice, enlightenment, truth, co-prosperity, and peace.
アメリカは民主主義国家で天皇みたいな存在がないから、日本人が天皇を頂点にしていることや、恐れ敬う気持ちそのものを説明しないといけないのね。それに大勢がキリスト教徒だろうから、彼らにとってただの人間を神のように崇めるのは理解できないだろうね。あちら側からはこんな風に見えてたのか。
そりゃあアメリカから見れば天皇もただの人間だからな。なぜそんな男を盲信的に信じて服従するか、さっぱりわからないだろうからな。お次は日本人が天皇をなぜ信望するか、日本人の考え方についてだぜ。
The year 1940 was a holy year in Japan, for the nation celebrated the 2600th anniversary of its founding by the first God Emperor, Jimmu.
If you are Japanese, you believe that Jimmu was the grandson of Prince Ninigi, who himself was the grandson of the sun goddess, Amaterasu Omikami. And she, the sun herself, said to Prince Ninigi, "Go down and rule over the luxuriant land of reed plains, which your posterity is to govern as monarchs." Whereon Ninigi descended from heaven to the land of reed plains and built a palace, and took to wife the daughter of a mountain deity, and she bore Ninigi a son. And Ninigi's son in turn took to wife the daughter of the god of the sea, and they too had a son, whom they named Jimmu. Exactly 2600 years ago, Jimmu landed at Yamato and proclaimed himself emperor over all the islands, saying, "Let us extend our capital until it covers the 8 corners of the world under one roof." And in this way the Japanese empire was created. Hirohito, is the 128th direct descendant of the sun goddess. And since from the beginning the emperor gods have mingled their flesh with mortal flesh, it follows that all Japanese are cousins in divinity. The soldier and the wrestler and the priest, the woman in the rice fields, the factory worker, the geisha girl, the businessman, the diplomat, the fisherman off California. All are members of one family whose blood is superior to the blood of any other race on earth because it is mixed with the liquid sunshine of the gods. And what's more, they believe it. And being of divine origin, all their acts fall into the divine pattern called the Way of the Gods, or Shinto. Which brings us to the national religion of Japan, Shintoism.
Now, Shintoism will not be easy to understand, but since it is the heart, brain, and soul of the nation and dictates all Japanese actions for the living and for the dead, it is important that we try to understand it. According to Shinto, the population of Japan is one son of heaven, the emperor, 9 million minor gods, 75 million living people, and billions upon billions of ghosts, the spirits of all Japanese who have died in the past. These spirits stand watch over all Japan, follow their soldiers into battle, and serenely float around in every Japanese house where guests are frequently introduced to them. They are so near, the living merely have to clap their hands to call their attention. They are fed choice food and incense is burned for them. Each living Japanese is merely a link in this endless chain of ghosts. He is identical with them except for the unimportant fact that he breathes and can be seen. Each living Japanese knows he is constantly surrounded by these spirits who guard him and watch over him to see that he obeys the emperor and follows the way of the gods. To watch over special Japanese activities, there is a host of minor gods. The volcano is a god. The lightning. There is a god of the silkworm, the god of the night wind. These pearl divers have a god, and annually they hold a ceremony for him. These farmers have a rice god to whom they offer prayers for a good harvest. These scarecrows are all gods of one kind or another. There are over 100,000 Shinto shrines in which these local gods and spirits are worshipped. For the living Japanese, Shinto decrees that all their actions must imitate the way of the gods, who handle chopsticks thusly, arrange flowers thusly, drink tea thusly, worship the emperor thusly, enter a room thusly, greet an acquaintance thusly. Now, on the surface, Shinto seems to be a nice, quaint religion for a nice, quaint people. And in the olden days, it used to be just that. But today, there's a diabolical joker in Shintoism. For since about 1870, the state has forced into the teachings of Shinto a mad, fanatical doctrine. A doctrine that has brought suffering and death to untold millions of innocent Asiatics. And now to thousands upon thousands of Americans. This doctrine is based on the divine command that Jimmu, the first god emperor, was supposed to have given his people 2,600 years ago. Let us extend the capital and cover the 8 corners of the world under one roof. To cover the 8 corners of the world under a Japanese roof. The Japs have a special name for Jimo's divine command. It's called Hakko Ichiu, and it has become the national ambition of Japan. If you are Japanese, you believe the place of honor among the spirits is reserved for those who die in battle. For they become warrior gods and are enshrined in a sacred temple, Yasukuni Shrine. The names of soldiers killed in battle are written on little tablets and placed at night in the inner recesses of this most holy Yasukuni Shrine. That is the greatest honor that man can achieve in Japan, to die in battle and be enshrined in Yasukuni, where even the emperor comes to bow to him. That's why soldiers, when saying goodbye to each other, often say, "See you in Yasukuni." That's why mothers and wives accept the ashes of their dead soldiers without grief or sorrow. The silent victorious return, it is called. For the dead are warrior gods who live on beside them to be cherished and cared for, to be given food and drink and a lighted cigarette to smoke. That's why Jap soldiers would rather be killed than surrender, for to be killed means they become warrior gods. To surrender means everlasting shame and dishonor to them and their family and all their ancestors. If you are Japanese, you believe these things implicitly.
日本人の私たちが当たり前と感じることを解説してるわね。アメリカにとっては異文化だもんね。どんなものにも神様がいるとか、一神教ではありえない考えだろうし、それと日本人が散ることを恐れないことも解説してる。散れば神になるから決して恐れず突撃する。靖国に祀られたのはめでたいことだから家族も泣かない。そんなことを拒否して降伏などありえないってことか。なんか若干愚か者と言われている感じがするわね。
日本人がなぜアジアを征服し欧米に反抗したか、それは日本人が神の子孫だからという理由で解説してるな。実際には当時の日本人は一部を除き、ほとんどはそんなこと考えてないぜ。時世に流されることはあったとしても、大正から昭和初期と平和な時代で自由に生きた人たちがいきなりそんな思想に染まるわけないぜ。
相手側のプロパガンダだから若干都合よく説明されてる感はあるのね。でもよく見ると他国から見た日本人を客観視されていて、違った目線で日本を見られて面白いわね。そして何よりここまでデータを収集して調べまくってたことが恐ろしいわ。
今回は一部をご紹介したので、次回は続きの部分を解説していこうと思うぜ。
次も楽しみなんだわ。よろしくお願いするね。
任せろだぜ。今回の動画はここまでだぜ。この動画が良かった方はグッドボタン、チャンネル登録もお願いします。Twitter リンクもチャンネル概要欄にあるので、よければフォローお願いします。ほんじゃ、バイバイ。